Becoming an activist, the early years of Jawar Mohammed. Jawar Mohammed's story is closely tied to the fight for Oromo rights in Ethiopia. Born in the RC zone of Oromia, Jawar saw the difficulties of Ethiopian politics early on. He saw how the Oromo people were treated unfairly. This made him want to help, starting him on a path to becoming a leader in the fight for Oromo self-determination. Jawar went to college overseas, first in Singapore and then in the United States. He did very well, getting degrees from famous schools like Stanford and Columbia. His education gave him the tools he would use later to help people who weren't being heard. It was during this time that Jawar realized how important the media is in telling stories and changing people's minds. Because there weren't many places talking about Oromo issues, Jawar started the Oromia Media Network, OMN, in 2013. OMN quickly became a very important source of news for the Oromo community, both in Ethiopia and around the world. The network helped people understand the Oromo struggle, showing a different side of the story than the government-controlled news. From friend to foe, Jawar Mohammed and Abiy Ahmed. When Abiy Ahmed became Prime Minister in 2018, many people in Ethiopia and other countries felt hopeful. Abiy's promises to make things better sounded good, especially to groups who had been left out of politics. Jawar Mohammed was one of the people who carefully supported the new Prime Minister. He thought Abiy might really change things and help the Oromo people. But this hope started to fade as Abiy's plans seemed to fail. People like Jawar said that Abiy's focus on taking more power and changing the way the government worked went against his promises. The relationship between the two men, which had been okay at first, became tense. Using OMN, Jawar started speaking out against Abiy's government, saying he had broken his promises of democracy. When Hachalu Hundessa, a famous Oromo singer and activist, was killed in June 2020, things changed a lot in Ethiopia. Many Oromo people felt the killing was an attack on them, and there were big protests. After the unrest, Jawar Mohammed and other opposition leaders were arrested for causing trouble. This made things even worse, and groups who protect people's rights said the arrests were unfair. I Will Not Regret: Jail Time, Activism, and a Memoir. Jawar Mohammed spent 18 months in jail. A tough time, but he stayed strong. Even in jail, he kept speaking up for people who couldn't, talking about political prisoners and the bad things happening in Ethiopia. His supporters saw him as a symbol of fighting against Abiy's growing power. While in jail, Jawar wrote his life story called I Will Not Regret, Amharic, Aletsatsatem Oromo Hingapu. The book, written in both Amharic and Oromo, tells about Jawar's life, how he became an activist, and his thoughts on the Oromo struggle. The title shows how much Jawar believes in his cause, even when things are hard. He says he doesn't regret anything because fighting for the Oromo people is more important than anything else. People in Ethiopia and around the world are excited about I Will Not Regret. The book is seen as an important part of the discussion about Ethiopia's future, helping people understand the country's complicated politics. Jawar's bravery in speaking up, even from jail, makes him a very important person in the fight for democracy and human rights in Ethiopia.